And isn't the best acting always about making us feel our common humanity beyond separate identities? A black George Washington in Hamilton, of course. But Ryan Gosling as Frederick Douglass? Yes, that would be problematic. Ditto Shia LaBeouf as Shaft. It's... Why don't we just go by merit and let the best actor win? Which seems like what happened when Ana de Armas just got picked to play Marilyn Monroe, even though she's Cuban with an accent. Hey, maybe she should play Fidel Castro and...
If you think Maher's war with woke Hollywood is over, think again. The drama is only getting hotter. Last time, he went after actors and actresses for their loud performative activism. And the result was a full-blown Hollywood meltdown that had everyone talking. Now Maher has a new target in his sights: the casting directors, those powerful gatekeepers who decide who gets the role and who gets canceled. His takedown was so explosive, it left the entire industry trembling, exposing how quiet diversity quotas have replaced real talent. The tension is thick, the fallout is wild, and this time, Hollywood can't look away.
Casting directors have to stop listening to the casting police and go back to doing their job, which is picking the best actor for the role. Now, I mention this because a lot of people lately are either apologizing for or calling on others to apologize for playing roles they call appropriation. James Franco was just chosen to play Fidel Castro, and John Leguizamo posted, "No more appropriation, boycott." This I don't got a problem with Franco, but he ain't Latino. Okay, but John Leguizamo is Colombian American. He ain't a Venetian, but he played one.
And that's the real issue with so many of these so-called casting police. When the system benefits them, they call it progress, but the second it doesn't, they scream discrimination. The hypocrisy couldn't be more obvious. It's as if their outrage isn't about justice or artistic integrity at all, but pure self-interest. Beneath all the flashing virtue signals, it's clear that money, fame, and attention are the real prizes. They're not fighting for the love of art. They're fighting for their spotlight, twisting every story just to keep it shining on them.
He ain't a French little person or an Italian plumber, but he played them too, because he's... because he's an actor. Why the hell do you think people become actors? Because they want to spend their life not being who they are.
I can't help but wonder what John Leguizamo was really thinking when he made that post. He's long benefited from the very system he's now criticizing. The freedom to become anyone, to embody characters beyond one's own background or identity. That's the heart of acting. Art without borders, emotion without limits. It's about stepping into someone else's life, telling stories that stretch imagination and stir the soul. The magic lies in transformation, in becoming someone you're not. So when Leguizamo suddenly draws lines around who can play what, it feels less like progress and more like hypocrisy wrapped in borrowed virtue.
Appropriating sounds like an unforgivable sin until you remember that's what acting is. That's why acting jobs are called roles. Sean Penn won an Oscar for playing gay civil rights martyr Harvey Milk. At the time, it was considered a courageous act of solidarity for a straight male movie star to play a homosexual. Now it's the opposite. Eddie Redmayne played a transgender woman in The Danish Girl, but now calls that a mistake because many people don't have a chair at the table. Well, actually, in movies now, they do. And what does it have to do with you playing trans? Does it then work the other way? Can trans actors only play trans characters? Because that's not going to be a good deal for them.
I completely agree. Eddie Redmayne had absolutely no reason to apologize for doing what he does best: acting. He's one of the most talented and versatile performers of his generation, and his portrayal in The Danish Girl was breathtaking. He approached the role with deep empathy, respect, and understanding, giving the trans community a genuine, heartfelt representation on screen. So what exactly was the issue? The outrage made zero sense. That's the thing about the woke crowd. No matter how sincere your efforts are, they're never satisfied. Even when someone honors their cause through art, they'll still find something to be offended by. It's not about progress anymore. It's about chasing perfection that doesn't exist.
Isn't the best acting always about making us feel our common humanity beyond separate identities? A black George Washington in Hamilton, of course. But Ryan Gosling as Frederick Douglass? Yes, that would be problematic. Ditto Shia LaBeouf as Shaft. It's... Why don't we just go by merit and let the best actor win? Which seems like what happened when Ana de Armas just got picked to play Marilyn Monroe, even though she's Cuban with an accent. Hey, maybe she should play Fidel Castro and...
As I mentioned earlier, it's hard not to feel like there's a hidden agenda behind all this outrage. Think about it. When an actor from a minority background takes on a traditionally white role, it's celebrated as progress and inclusion. But the moment a white actor portrays a minority character, it's suddenly labeled offensive or cultural appropriation. How is that fair? Art should be a place where talent shines above all else, not identity politics. This double standard exposes the selective outrage fueling so much of the debate. Maher is absolutely right to call it out, because fairness can't be conditional. You either stand for artistic freedom or you don't. There's no middle ground.
James Franco can play Marilyn Monroe, and then we can all stay in our lanes. Is that what diversity and inclusion look like now? Everybody's staying in their lane? Lawrence of Arabia was gay. Peter O'Toole wasn't. I can live with that. Because he was so cool, he almost made me gay. Emma Stone caught hell for playing a Hawaiian, Jake Gyllenhaal for playing a Persian, Gal Gadot for wanting to play Cleopatra, Johnny Depp for playing an Indian, even though he's not an actual Comanche, and spoiler alert, he also doesn't really have scissor hands.
People seriously need to let art breathe again. The constant interference of woke policing is suffocating creativity. Art, by its very nature, is meant to provoke thought, inspire emotion, and celebrate the beauty of human imagination. It's supposed to be about storytelling and connection, not identity quotas and box ticking. When we start dictating who can or can't play a role based on race, gender, or background, we strip the soul right out of creativity. Hollywood, at its core, is still a business. Producers risk millions, and they deserve the right to cast whoever can bring a character to life. The audience doesn't buy tickets for political lectures. They want passion, emotion, and genuine art that moves them.
Tom Hanks now says that if Philadelphia were made today, he wouldn't do it because the character was gay and he's not. Well, besides the fact that this would force all gay actors to reveal their sexuality, even if they didn't want to, great actors, which Tom is one, try hard to keep their private lives private so we don't think of their real lives when we see them in a movie that attempts to transport us into a different world. Could you really look at this actress now and not think of the trial? Should she only play bedshitters now?
The woke crowd isn't just ruining art, they're suffocating it. By demanding that only people with identical identities and backgrounds can play certain roles, they're tearing down everything that makes cinema magical. Acting has always been about transformation, stepping out of yourself to live another life, to tell someone else's story. But when every casting choice is filtered through political agendas, that magic fades away. Audiences can't escape into the story anymore. They're too busy judging who deserves the role. The result? Flat performances that feel forced and lifeless. Instead of emotion and imagination, we're left with propaganda disguised as art, turning cinema into a battlefield instead of a dream.
What's Daniel Day-Lewis really like? I haven't a clue, which is why he's so great. Because when he plays Lincoln, I only see Lincoln. I don't think, well, there's a British heterosexual. But Hanks says, I don't think people would accept the inauthenticity of a straight guy playing a gay guy because, quote, we're beyond that now. Don't get him started on bosom buddies. I mean, really? Does Forrest Gump get thrown under the bus too because Tom isn't really mentally challenged? And as far as we're beyond that, no, that implies progress. This is the opposite. This is regression.
Maher absolutely nails it. This isn't progress. It's regression dressed up as virtue. Instead of uniting people through creativity and shared stories, the industry is now building walls where there should be bridges. To demand that only those with identical experiences or traits can portray certain characters is pure absurdity. Maher exposes this twisted logic with sharp wit, saying if we take it literally, then only mentally ill actors should play characters with mental illness. How ridiculous is that? This obsession with purity tests doesn't celebrate diversity, it crushes it. Bit by bit, it destroys the beauty of artistic freedom under the mask of moral superiority.
It is, frankly, typical of so much wokeness that doesn't build on liberalism. It undoes it. Empathy, putting yourself in someone else's place so you can understand them better, used to be the very heart of liberalism. Now it's considered offensive because don't even try to put yourself in my shoes because you could never know. What a bunch of that always was. Of course, no one can ever know exactly what another person's struggle is, but we try.
Empathy was never meant to belong to one political side. It was a shared human virtue. It wasn't owned by liberals, nor alien to conservatives, because true empathy transcends ideology. It's about stepping into another's world, feeling their struggles even when you can't live them yourself. That's what allowed people to connect through art, culture, and compassion. But now, that beautiful bridge is crumbling under the weight of divisive thinking. The fringe left insists that no one can truly understand another's pain unless they've lived it. And that mindset kills empathy. It replaces understanding with suspicion, turning human connection into isolation. When we stop trying to relate to one another, we lose what makes us human. And art loses its very heart.
Like Me was a 1950s book about a white man who darkened his skin and went out into society because he wanted to understand what his black brothers and sisters were up against. Today, all the woke mob would see about that was a guy who did blackface. Steven Spielberg recently remade West Side Story and bent over backwards to respect ethnicities and ended up pleasing nobody. And it's too bad because the original musical was created by Stephen Sondheim, Arthur Lawrence, and Leonard Bernstein, three gay Jews.
And that's the saddest part of it all. No one can ever truly satisfy the woke mob. They're never content, never forgiving, and their outrage never ends. Their standards shift like quicksand, impossible to meet, impossible to predict. They demand apologies, but when they get them, they twist them into proof of guilt. Even legends like Steven Spielberg, a man who shaped generations and often championed progressive ideas, haven't been spared. He's edited his own classics just to appease the noise. And still, they find something new to attack. That's the irony. The more you try to please them, the more they devour you. Hollywood has become a graveyard of fear, where creativity dies under the weight of self-censorship.
Next thing you're going to tell me street gangs don't even dance. And now they're making a movie about Leonard Bernstein, and Bradley Cooper is playing it. I mean, if he can get through the picket lines. You see, like Rachel Brosnahan playing Mrs. Maisel and Helen Mirren playing Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir. Bradley is, sadly, a Gentile. And that's the new sin in Hollywood, being a non-Jewish actor portraying a Jew. Because that's always been the problem in Hollywood, not enough Jews.
Actors should be free to explore their craft and push the limits of their talent without fear of ideological gatekeepers breathing down their necks. The essence of acting lies in transformation, in stepping beyond one's identity to bring another person's story to life. That's the heart of true art. Hollywood already faces real challenges like systemic bias, unfair pay, and studio politics. So the last thing it needs is another layer of self-righteous control over who's allowed to play what. Casting should be about skill, not social approval. When creativity is chained by fear of backlash, everyone loses: the artists, the audience, and the art itself. Maher is right. Hollywood has lost the plot. Once a beacon of imagination, it now bows to ideological tests that stifle expression. Art isn't about checking boxes or pleasing online mobs. It's about truth, empathy, and freedom. When fear replaces inspiration, authenticity dies. If Hollywood truly wants diversity, it must defend artistic freedom, the very soul that once made it legendary.